Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses, and the only podcast on which we talk about the four pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I'm Tom, an anime sicko.
I'm Joe, an anime sicko.
Now, Joe, what we gotta do first, and a lot of the times when I say that, it's because we have a little funny bit to do at the beginning that's very short before we get to the main topic, and we want to riff. But actually,
this is serious business. People have given us dollars, and we say their name.
The one reward that we actually did promise them, that we'd say their name. Buddy, we've been forgetting. And it sounds awful, but there's only been 3 episodes since the last time we did this. So really, just you pulled the slot machine arm 3 times and you lost, and the 4th time you won. I think that's a pretty good win rate.
Yeah, no casino would stay open with those numbers.
Yeah. So here are our lovely new patrons. First off, we got to thank Ian Preschel, our big time homie from A+ Anime. What a king. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Next, we got Randy McCourt. Randy, an excellent decision you've made giving us money. Thank you so much.
Nice job, Randy. I've been listening to a lot of Electric Six, which is a fun, dumb band, and the song I've been looping a lot is Randy's Hot Tonight, which is just a song about a guy named Randy who's really feeling it. But now I know who that Randy actually is. It's the one who's giving me $5.
He's feeling it because he donated to the Sickos, which kicks ass. Next up is Cameron Fredrickson. Cameron has commented on the Life Removal Machine early release on Patreon, saying that he got really bad COVID in December and had to take 3 weeks off work. And folks, my health was better at the end of it than on any given day of a work week. Not downplaying COVID, that's just how bad working is. My king, I agree.
Yes. I have for sure thought, especially early on, I was like, well, if I get it mildly, I for sure get 3 weeks off work, right? No questions asked. I'm not saying I was rooting for it, but it was in the back of my head as if it happens.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you get worst case scenario, you die. Yeah. Second worst case scenario, you get the long COVID where you can't walk for a block without huffing and puffing for the rest of your life, and also you can never taste. But best case scenario, you get a long vacation and no one can yell at you. Anyway, moving on. Our next new patron. Oh golly, we know this fellow. We once again have sprung our honey trap, our infinite money loop. A previous guesto, Vince White, we paid him, now he pays us. Oh, it's all coming together. Thank you, Vince.
Yes, this is just multi-level marketing. This is a big scam. This is Amway.
Yeah, we're the top of the pyramid. We're tricking you into building your downline, but it's all just going to us. Anyway, next patron is gonna be Jake Powell. I don't have any funny Jake stories other than thank you, Jake, for donating to us.
Thank you, Jake.
Next we got, and this name just blew me away. I really hope this is a given name. If it's a nickname, hell yeah, also, congratulations on, forging your own path and creating a good life for yourself. But, Blade Brown, thank you.
Hell yeah.
And finally, our final new patron that we have not yet called out. It's going to be David. It's either Nicholas or Nikolaus. It's Nikolaus. I'm going to go with Nikolaus because it sounds cool.
Thank you.
Anyway, holy shit. That's all. We've done it. The docket's clear. No more pending Anime Sickos money givers. That's all of them, and we love all of you. And if you want to give us money for whatever fucking reason you have in your heart, I don't know why, but you can. You can go to patreon.com/animesickos and do so. We deeply appreciate it. There's weird, fun goofs and projects coming that cost money to do, and it's because of that we're doing them. So, hell yeah.
You're giving us seed money for goofs. This is like a sort of a joke VC situation.
You're an angel investor for high-concept podcast episodes.
Yeah, in one of the projects, we're now just waiting for production. Now we're waiting on the IPO. We've done the work. And now we wait.
Yes, it's gonna be fucking good. But that Joe, we're not here to just talk about the future. We're here for the now. We're doing an episode now, and what we're doing an episode on is because I was playing games. You know, you heard of video games? I've been doing those. I've done a couple, and I talked to you about the one I was playing at the time because I thought that there were some fun topics that would be interesting on the show. I was like, hey, Joe, just so you know, like, I don't know if you ever played this game, but I've been playing Mother 3, and like I think there's some like discussion topics here. And then your hair turned to a different color, and aura started to pour off of you.
Yeah, because look, I get to talk about Earthbound. That's what I heard. I heard you teeing me up for Earthbound. The thing about Earthbound is it is my stupid Junji Ito cave hole. It's like it's the game that is shaped in my outline, and then when I find it, which is this opportunity to talk about it, I yell, "This is my hole. This is for me. I need to go in here. I love how dark it is. Great."
So okay, this blew my mind because I was under the impression that everyone who's ever played Earthbound, which to be clear is Mother 2 to Mother 3's Mother 3, but it was called Earthbound in America. I always thought that Earthbound was exclusively played years after release by tiresome faux intellectual game nerds who are looking to sort of relive a classic in order to write a think piece about it. But I'm hearing, I've been told on my earpiece that you actually like played it on release as a child.
Oh yeah, so I want to also address that like. Your take on the faux intellectual nerd stuff is not wrong. And also, when I consumed this game the first time, I was a dumb kid. So it goes without saying that a lot of the things I did not appreciate that we're going to talk about, a lot of the COG related stuff. So what I'm excited to talk about is like what stayed with me was just like really weird salient game choices that forever sort of left a depression on my brain.
Mm-hmm.
But let me talk about like the fucking physical game. So the game box as a marketing stunt was I think about 4 times the size of a normal Super Nintendo game box.
I'm sure all the stalkers at the video game store loved that.
I played it first because I rented it at Blockbuster, and at Blockbuster it had the big stupid fucking box. And I saw it and I thought, wait a minute. My Super Nintendo isn't that big. This sucks. I can't play this. But then I learned that it's that size because it came with the strategy guide. So I rented it, and like, I think I also need to just like the idea of renting a JRPG is the dumbest consumer choice. Like, I got 3 days. I did that shit all the time. I was such an idiot child. So I played it for 3 days. I didn't know what was going on, but I expressed enough interest in it and its weirdness that for my following birthday, my parents got me it, and I immediately recognized what it was because it's a huge fucking box with the Starman on it. And it comes with a strategy guide that has scratch and sniff stickers for various characters, including Ness, because he's just like a boy.
He smells like a kid. He smells normal.
There are 2 bosses that are like Carbon Dog and Diamond Dog or something, and it's a fire dog and a dog that turns into diamond. The dog smells like shit, Tom. The fire dog, it was like one of the most foul things. It was really fucking bad.
I love the sort of impulse that Nintendo America had to make this decision to make the box huge, which again makes like the physical task of stocking it in stores like a hated chore that every store will resent. So they're gonna fucking resist doing. They did that because they needed to include a strategy guide because no one in America would understand that there was a joke in an RPG unless there was a big book where every page was like, don't worry, the jokes were on purpose.
Yeah, they weren't a mistake. They weren't typos. They're supposed to be fun.
Everyone's like, how come in my Dragon Quest game, they're not talking about the king, and are instead talking about Threed, the Halloween city.
Another fun thing about the strategy guide is that, like, obviously it was a thing to sort of get people onboarded with this kind of weird game, but itself as a document was a very cool strategy guide. And the reason for this is there was a lot of claymation art that was like made for the strategy guide only. So you would get a bunch of really cool, like Gumby style pictures of various enemies in the game, which was, if you're like a kid that just wants to look at monster stats and shit, it's a wonderful little Bible.
Oh, hell yeah. That reminds me of something I haven't thought of in a while, which was when I was real little, when I was like 7, I didn't know what Zelda was yet, but I saw the Ocarina of Time strategy guide in the store, and just like that shit was full with these huge, like half of the page was just like incredible Ocarina of Time concept art in that like beautiful style that they were using at that time, or it was like semi-realistic but like not too much, and it was just full of the art. And there was like a Redead that looked so fucking scary, and there was Link in all types of action poses, and I got that like prior to knowing about Zelda, and I would just like look through it and be like, oh fuck, Stalfos, fuck. It's a heady brew for a child, so Earthbound guys would definitely kick ass to see.
And because the game is a series of towns, all of the full page spreads of each town's map was so awesome. It's just like a perfect thing to endlessly like look at when you're not playing Earthbound, which is basically what I did. You'd be like, you play some Earthbound, and then you're going to study it,
Yeah, of course.
off screen. And then, you go back to the grind.
So, Joe, most people in the fucking world, because let me tell you what, in the U.S. at least, Earthbound was a huge flop that no one played. So you're very rare in that way. Very few people know about this shit other than that Ness is a Super Smash Brother. He's in the Smash Brothers, and he hits Captain Falcon with a bat. So, like, what's the actual game? Like, what's it about? What's the conflict? What do you do?
Okay, so the game starts, and you wake up basically in the suburbs. There's some spooky shit happening with a meteor, and your awful rich neighbor who sucks, who then proceeds to actually be the biggest villain in time and space.
Yeah, he becomes the series big bad. your shitty, annoying neighbor kid.
So what happens is Ness wakes up from bed because this meteor shit's going down. It's all like, oh fuck, there's a creepy alien happening, and there's a fly. Tom, there's a fly. A fly is there. His name is Buzz Buzz. And the fly is like, Ness, I come from the future. It's fucked. It sucks. It's really bad because of Gygus, who is an unknowable evil entity. Oh shit, Starman is here. Don't worry, I'm a psychic fly from the future. I'll protect you in this scripted boss fight where you would otherwise lose. And then the fly is like, you know what? We're gonna do it together. We're gonna stop Gygus. And then you go to the shitty rich kid's house, and the shitty rich kid's mom is like, "Oh, fly!" and she crushes it.
It's so good. It's so fucking funny.
And the fly is like, oh fuck, I thought I had powers, but I guess I could still get crushed. And the fly is like, anyway, you need to take this magical stone and find these points of power, and by basically restoring these tunes to this magic stone, it'll open the path to defeat Gygus in another time, etc., etc. And then the game starts, and it is an RPG with fantasy elements, but the first 4 towns are just places. Like, they're just towns.
Yeah.
The main antagonists in the first town are a bunch of street punks that come in 3 varieties. You got the skating street punks, you got the pogo street punks, and then the hula hoop street punks, which of course all have their special attacks.
This is the part that's very funny. And you when we were talking about this, you kept bringing this up as just a point of ingenious beauty, which is like the Onit is your hometown where the fucking punks are. The Onit cops are just like, man, these street punks are really causing a lot of trouble. I don't know what to do about that. You beat them all up, and you meet their leader, and he's a boss fight.
Yeah, I actually, as a kid, there is a sense of creeping scale that I kind of enjoyed. By which I mean the game starts, and what I mean starts like you're by yourself. Like the game's like, okay, go outside, Ness, and it's like you have to beat up these birds with a bat, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the first major fight is an adult with a knife.
Yeah, and it's Frankie, a knife man.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, this kid beat me. Anyway, I got a killdozer. We're going to give that a go. And then you fight his killdozer.
Yeah, and you beat him, and he's like, you know what? Actually, kid, you're stronger than me. I give up crime. My gang's disbanded, and Onit is peaceful now. And you get a cop come up to you and be like, hey, the captain says he wants to see you at the station. And you're like, definitely to give me a reward.
Yeah.
What happens when you show up at the station, Joe?
The cops kick your ass. It's a boss fight. Like you go into a room that is just hardwood floor and a window, and there's like 13 cops, and you have to fight them all one-on-one. And they're like, I'm gonna slap you, piss boy, and they say like weird stuff beforehand. And like so one of the things that is very funny about Earthbound is the idea is that Gygas is so powerful, and his insanity is like manifesting and fucking up things around, so that you'll have like normal people who go crazy. Like there's like new age retro hippie, which is just like a hippie that was touched by insanity, and now he's an enemy.
Yeah.
The cops are normal, Tom. The cops don't like, they are not Gygas touched.
They were just like this. This is just how it was. And so the rest of the structure of the game really is, and like people talk about the sort of odd and unique nature of Earthbound, and it is odd and unique. The entire game was written, every piece of text except for one small area. Every piece of text in the game was written in the original Japanese by Shigesato Itoi, who is, I guess, like a famous copywriter, which I didn't think that was a thing that could happen.
Yeah. His whole like Wikipedia page and what I've read about him is very interesting, because I can't think of like an American equivalent of like us being like, you know who I loves copy, you know who I wish had a game, like a really onerous JRPG.
It's like, imagine, okay, this is a person who in Japan, when it was announced that like Shigesato Itoi is making an NES RPG called Mother that he's going to write himself, people were like, I can't believe Nintendo is letting some celebrity waste time with a vanity project. And what he's famous for is like essays and copy. Why? I don't know. It's odd.
It is strange. And well, he wrote a good ass game.
He did. The game's good as hell, and it is quirky, and every part of it is touched with like the thumbprint of a very distinct creator. That said, the actual like structure of the game, it's fucking Dragon Quest. It's like the normalest shit. You go to a town and you buy all the weapons from the new store that are all better than the ones you have. And the town is like, hello, talk to all the NPCs until you find the one who tells you the shit that's wrong in this town, and then go to where that guy tells you and beat up the boss.
Yeah, and it kicks ass. One thing that is worth mentioning that I think might not be clear based on that description is that there is no overworld map. Everything is just what it is, which I think is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like you go into town and then you leave and you go grind on like the overworld map. It's all continuous areas. The towns, even though like they're filled with the typical JRPG stuff where a guy walks around and says the same shit every time you talk to him, they feel lively. They feel like, I don't know, kind of real, especially the early ones, because the early ones are supposed to be like realistic. They get kind of wacky.
Yeah, the game definitely jerks up the wackiness. But the beginning, it does. You do sort of just like fight weird guys. normal guys. Like the one, talk about lively. If we talk about lively, Joe, we got to talk about the Runaway Five. This is a recurring group of guys. This is a band who is cursed to constantly sign contracts with different theaters, such that instead of the normal thing, which is they get paid to do a concert, they somehow wind up millions of dollars in debt to the venue, and they've just become slaves, and they have to do Blues Brothers music every night while the crowd hoots and is like, I love the Runaway Five. And you have to like bail them out of debt like 3 times.
Yeah, one time I think, don't you give the owner just like a bunch of diamonds, and he's like, well, this will work.
Yeah, yep. It's awesome. Oh, and Joe, explain to the listeners at home why it's so crucial to help out the Runaway Five the first time.
Okay, so the first time you meet the Runaway Five, it's in Tucson. 2. Onnet is 1, Tucson is 2, 3 is 3, Foresight is 4. I don't think they did anything after that. I think that was too cute by half. You got to get to the next fucking town, Threed. The problem is...
Threed's Halloween Town, folks.
If you go into that tunnel, there's ghosts. And the ghosts, when they grab you, they make you go back to the start of the tunnel. But it turns out the ghosts hate the noisy touring van of the Runaway Five. So the whole reason you like need to help them is because you need to get to the next town, and they are the only one with a vehicle loud enough to keep the ghosts at bay. So a really good way to envision, I think, Earthbound, if you're not familiar with it, is you have an RPG, you have a JRPG. So you know all the shit that every game would do, a Dragon Quest game would do, where it's like, oh, there's something happening on the volcano and it's affecting the weather. Can you go help us out? Just all those very obvious, like, go do X, town is changed. Mm-hmm. In Earthbound, every single time that happens, it's really stupid. Like the things you are doing are very dumb and they're very enjoyable. There's a part where you cannot progress because there's a giant metallic pencil in the way. And like you have to go to this inventor and be like, I fucking don't know what to do. And he's like, I'm going to make you a pencil eraser.
Pencil eraser is so fucking good. And Joe, the thing about the pencil eraser that's ingenious is that, throughout the game, you'll encounter, again, oh, there's a pencil, and I got to go get my pencil eraser out of storage. Haha, very funny. And then eventually you get late in the game, and you see a pencil in the way, but then you actually look at it because you've just been glancing at it, and you're like, it's the same size and shape and color as the pencils. I need the pencil eraser. But you look at it again, and what it actually is, it's a pencil eraser. It's the eraser. So you got to go to the inventor and be like, I need an eraser.
Yeah, and then you get the eraser. And all these things happen. It's this level of dumb fetch quest on top of a story that is actually very scary. The end of the game is pretty intense, and it's very funny how terrifying the last boss fight is, given how goofy everything is. The shit that gets up to it. The path to a very unsettling first-person JRPG fight is paved in dumb goofs.
Yeah.
I will now just sort of rattle off some things that stuck with me as a kid because, as I said, I don't remember a lot of the specifics of the plot, but I remember salient details that I was like, that's kind of weird. I haven't seen that in a game before. Mm-hmm. So there is a dungeon that's a guy. It's a dungeon man.
Oh yeah! Holy shit! Okay. I can fill in the details here. There's a guy named Brick Road who wants to become a dungeon maker more than anything. Early on, you playing as Jeff in the solo Jeff area, and you go through Brick Road's dungeon, and it's just a shitty maze in a cave that isn't hard and it's not dangerous.
There's a duck in it. You fight a duck.
Every single fucking fork in the road, there's a sign explaining what's here's what you might find at the end, so you don't get scared. It's very handholdy, and at the end he's like, well, did you like my dungeon? And I don't think it was very good. I'll have to try again. And later you find a huge stone colossus in the desert, and it's inside the colossus there's a dungeon. And it's just a bigger version of Brick Road's dungeon. There's fucking little signs that explain hey, if you go over here, it's a dead end. But there's a fun treasure at the end. That way, it doesn't feel like you wasted your time. And then you get to the top, and his face is in the wall. He's like, "Hello, this is my body. You've been in my body all along. I've become a dungeon man."
Yeah, you know how like in Dune he becomes the sandworm? It's the same thing, but for dungeons. It's so good. Another game design choice that I really liked, and I haven't seen a lot since. Obviously, it's not that exciting when you meet a JRPG character and it gives you the opportunity to name them. Mm-hmm. What Earthbound does, which is very cool, is that it makes you name everybody at the start. So you're like, okay, wait, there's a glasses guy and there's a karate guy later. Like, when is he going to come in? And that's just a really nice little choice to sort of dangle that in front of you, because based on sprites alone, I mean, this is what the crew is. You have a baseball boy, you have Polly Pocket, you have a guy with no pupils because he's got glasses. He's like James Bond, and then you have a karate guy whose name defaults to Pooh.
It's pretty good. I do have to say, I kind of appreciate, but also roll my eyes at how the game handles like your party, because a big part of JRPGs is like the party being your homies. Like Dragon Quest XI, your party members are such homies. Oh my god, I love chilling with them. In Yakuza 7, holy shit, the game is basically Himbo Simulator Homie Edition.
Who's hungry?
Me. But the way that you gain your party members in Earthbound is you go to Tucson and you hear about like, oh, this girl Paula got kidnapped by the cult. And you go to the cult and Paula's there. It's like, oh, Ness, I already know about you from a psychic vision I had. I'm going to join your party. I'm in your party now. And then she never speaks again because if you're in the party, you don't talk. Ness never talks. After Paula joins your party, she never talks. Later, they're in a tight spot. They get captured, and Paula breaks her silence and is like, "Fuck, we can't get out of this." Here, oh, I know. We have to call our destined friend Jeff. I'll use my psychic powers to call out to him. Jeff, come help me and Ness. And we cut to Jeff, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, finds you and Ness. He joins the party.
You are speeding past what is the coziest part of the entire game. Jeff's solo part. He's like at a snowy college. And all the outdoor areas have sleigh bell music, and all of the enemies are like big fluffy bears and Arctic. It's so awesome.
Also, we can't overlook Tony, Jeff's friend Tony, who I think is like one of the greatest homies in video games. He's just like, "Oh, Jeff, where are you going? Like, it's dangerous out there, and you're my best friend." And Jeff explains, and he's like, "Oh, that makes sense. Well, you have to do what you need to do. I mean, if this is important to you, I support you. Here, it's my birthday tomorrow. They're putting together a party in my room. Take as much cake as you want." And he's like, "All right, see you." And then like at the end of the game, when you win, there's like a note to Jeff that Tony wrote, like explaining how much he misses you and how proud he is of you. And it's like, Tony, my man.
The end of the game is wonderful because you get this credits with all the sprites and everybody. Most delightfully, your dad is a phone. He remains a phone. Your dad is never seen. He is just a guy you call to save the game, and he tells you that he put money in your account.
I love that it's just your mom, and it says underneath her little sprite, Mom. It has your sister underneath her little sprite, Tracy. And then there's a sprite of a phone, and it just says Dad.
Yeah.
We do have to talk about the dad, because that's some funny shit, but I want to just, one of the funniest fucking things, and this is just, I couldn't believe this when it was happening, is the fourth party member, Pooh, the karate guy. So what happens is, no one is like calling out for Pooh, like, "Pooh, our distant friend, come help us," like it was for Jeff. We just cut to the far eastern country of Dalam, where Pooh is the prince. He's doing martial arts training, and he has like a breakthrough, and he's like, "Holy shit, I just realized I gotta go help Ness. And his master's like, cool, I'll teleport you. And so your party is just sort of walking around, and a fucking guy flies out of the sky, lands in front of you and says, hello, I am Pooh, Prince of Dalam. I'm here to help you. And everyone just stands there perfectly still, silent, and just waits for him to walk to the back of the line. And now he's the fourth guy in the party.
Oh, the freeze and wait is so fun.
And Pooh owns, because whenever you have a party member, they always start at level 1. So it's like, I don't know what this guy can do yet, because they're at level 1. They have to level up all their stats, and it's easy to level up when they're at level 1 at this part of the game, because like one battle will give them like 5 levels, and I'll see all their stats go up, and they'll unlock new abilities, and I'll understand what they're good at. And also, I'll have to go back to the store, and I'll have to make sure I get special new equipment for him. I have to kit him out with badass equipment. And
you don't have to worry about that, because Pooh is a king, and he will not wear peasant trash.
If you try to put peasant clothes on him, his defense and attack will drop to 0, because he's like, no. And you're like, okay, I guess he just won't have anything equipped to him. But I better make sure that I give him a lot of healing items, because everyone's got to have healing items.
He will never touch a burger.
Yeah, he eats only king's food. Pauper's food heals him for no health. He will not eat that shit.
He's so good. His only weapon is his ultimate weapon, which is a katana.
The sword of kings.
Yeah, well, once I found out how you get it, which is to grind a sea monster in a very annoying place, even my child self, which was prone to doing repetitive activities for low ROI, was like, no way, I'm not doing that. You're going unarmed, nerd.
Oh, here, let me tell you the story, because I tried to get it. Here's how it is. There are 3 screens in the game in a specific dungeon where there is an enemy called the Deluxe Starman. And what happens is the Deluxe Starman will always show up with a normal Starman. And the way you have a fight in Earthbound is you have to walk into like a sprite of an enemy on the map, and then it like starts the fight. So you have to actually walk into them or have them walk into you. When Starmen show up, it's always in a pair on these screens. So one of them is the Deluxe Starman, and one of them is the normal Starman. So you don't know which one it is. But you just got to go up to every Starman you see and fight them. And when you defeat a normal Starman, it has a 1 in 128 chance of dropping the brain food lunch, which heals your magic and also your health.
Yeah, now you're saying video game words. Yeah.
When you defeat the Deluxe Starman, you have that same chance. You have the same 1 in 128 chance of dropping the Sword of Kings, the only weapon that Pooh will deign to equip. So I spent like 2 hours grinding Starmen and Deluxe Starmen. And Joe, here's what happened. I didn't get a single Sword of Kings, but I did get 3 brain food lunches. And I said, fuck this, and continued on.
This is a good time to address what IQ does in this game.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, because I another reason I stopped is because I knew that there was a part coming up where Ness gets a ton of free stats, but you don't get them if you're already at level 99, and I was getting close because I was fucking leveling up a lot, trying to get this sword. So I'm like, I gotta make sure I don't hit 99. One of the things you get a ton of is IQ. So what is IQ? What does it do?
So here's what happens when Ness's IQ goes up. It doesn't mean anything because he's not Jeff. But if Ness were Jeff, if his IQ gets high enough, he's able to repair broken tubas and turn them into shield sucking machines. Jeff is it's a common trope in JRPGs that you have like the one character who can't use magic, the one guy with no MP, and that's Jeff, but he doesn't really need psychic powers because he's got like a gun. Bottle rockets remain a consumable but very powerful weapon throughout the entire game.
Yeah. The multi-bottle rocket, I think, is like the strongest single attack you can do, period. It owns. Yeah, and so if you have IQ as Jeff, you can have a broken what have you, and when you go to bed at the inn, sometimes Jeff will be like, "Hey, I succeeded at the roll to fix this thing, and now it's a cool item that only I can use that has a special utility." And it's wild because it's like broken iron, broken tube, broken tuba, like weird, like what is this gonna turn into? I can't imagine. But one of Jeff's most useful items comes from the broken bazooka, and would you believe that when he fixes it, it becomes the bazooka?
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that should just be his normal attack now, right?
Yeah, it's like it is as strong as his normal attack, but it also hits every enemy. It's wild. It's the best. Fuck. So IQ for Ness, when Ness gets a lot of IQ, all that really means is that, like, if he ever did talk, what he says now would be a lot smarter than what he would have said at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't hit level 99.
Yeah, it's good to know he's not backsliding, even though he's not spending any time in school. It's good.
Yeah. And, like, you might be thinking, like, well, maybe IQ makes his psychic ability stronger. No, it does not. No, that's just a flat damage.
Before we get into Mother 3, I think the way to describe the way this game sort of oozes with style, even by, like, standards at the time, and I think it even had style by, like, today's standards.
Oh,
I think
for sure.
It's a funky game with a lot of bold choices. The music is really unlike anything else I've heard on a console, certainly at that time in my life, because the music is funky, it's weird, it's fun, and also, and this is such a wonderful choice, you know how Dragon Quest has got the one song when you fight forever and then you die? The developers of Earthbound did the smart thing in making it so there are different battle themes based on different types of enemies, and that goes a long way for, like, infusing so much of the game with style when you have these, like, looping, rotating tracks that have tons of personality, and they're also accompanied with very usually visually interesting enemies.
Mm-hmm. And they're funny enemies.
Yeah, like there's the hippie. The hippie gets his own song.
And in the background of all these fights, there's a weird screensaver.
Yeah, so I actually think, now that I know what I know about my brain and the ADHD thing, I think my fixation with Earthbound was carried heavily by the fact the background for every fight is like a Winamp equalizer. It's really cool. It's neat.
Oh, fuck. It is. Oh, God. Before a few things that stuck with me from Earthbound that I want to say before we move on to Mother 3 is, one, the Stoic Club kicks ass. I wish that was real. There is this club in the resort town of Summers, which is called the Stoic Club, where everyone just sort of, like, talks philosophy to each other. And the sort of way it's described in the world is that, like, if someone goes to the Stoic Club, like, they're lost forever. Like, they never come back. Like, one guy's like, my wife only goes to the Stoic Club now. We don't have any mutual interests anymore. Can you please get her to go away from the Stoic Club? And there's one guy in the Stoic Club who, when you talk to him, says something along the lines of, "Kid, are you telling me you can't envision the collapse of capitalism? That's incredible."
Yes. Just understand that the game has lots of things like that that were completely wasted on me. Just completely wasted on me because I wanted to make his stats go up.
I mean, that also happens.
Neither of us have addressed the elephant in the room, which is there has never been a game with a more satisfying critical hit effect.
Oh, yeah, smash.
Yeah. Like in Chrono Trigger, which I think is a pretty good standard for critical hits, what'll happen is the animation will be slightly different. Chrono will swing his sword and he'll actually swing it again, like on the backswing. That's what a critical hit is. In Earthbound, your text box just says the word smash in huge letters. It makes like the biggest, just juiciest sound. And then the enemy takes a bunch of damage. There is, in fact, a bat called the Casey bat, which is one of Ness's strongest weapons, and its thing is it either misses or it smashes. And that's like the dopamine drug weapon because you can just be like, all right, I want the big text. I'm ready to do double or nothing.
It's good shit. Oh man, speaking of weird, unusual size text, we gotta talk about the Mr. Saturns. So these are little guys who are little fleshy nub guys with big noses and little whiskers. If you played Super Smash Brothers, you'll recognize them as these things you can throw, and they're weird. And I don't really know what the point of them is. It's an item in Super Smash Brothers. Ooh, that's great. They're in Mother 2 and 3, or rather Earthbound and Mother 3. And what they are is there's some little guys who live in Saturn Valley, and they talk in a funny font, and they say Zoom all the time, and they say KO instead of OK. And I gotta say, Joe, I love these little guys. Like, these guys...
They're weird. Like, in Saturn Valley, isn't the hotel like just like a garbage can?
No, the hotel is just a guy's house, and he's like, you want slumber? And there's like a little pillow, and you can sleep. There is a guy who's in a garbage can. He's like, I'm stuck.
That might be it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
I'm stuck, Zoom, KO. They're just little guys. They're cute. They're little weirdos. What is the purpose of them? And how do they contribute to the plot?
The purpose is to have a good time.
Yeah.
They're fun.
The purpose is you found a bunch of little guys that you can't get enough of these suckers. They're fun. Like, what are they? Are they people? They're clearly Mr. Saturn. That's what they are.
Saturn Valley also possessed the hardest puzzle in any video game I'd experienced as a kid up to that point, which is the way to get into Saturn Valley is you have to stand in front of the waterfall and not touch your controller for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I think it's 3 minutes, but they do tell you that. And like the password to waterfall is nothing for 3 minutes. And I did that, and I'm like, this certainly can't be what's gonna actually happen. And I was like looking at my phone, and I'm like, this is gonna be a waste of time. And then a little text box popped up, and it's like, all right, you're cool, you can come in.
Yeah, I didn't believe that was the solution. As a kid, I was like, you wouldn't put this thing in a game where you just don't play for 3 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's Earthbound, baby. I also want to call out, so I knew from like gamer trivia that like a tiresome pseudo-intellectual gamer would just accrue. That like Earthbound, the team developing it, you know, being led by a fucking copywriter, a celebrity copywriter, and not like a game guy. The team was like having trouble actually making the game run and like getting all of the fucking text into the game, fitting on the cartridge and all that. And famously, the late Satoru Iwata, future head of Nintendo, was like, I actually really love Earthbound. It's like, I need to make sure it works. So he like put in insane, life-ruining hours, being the one who actually wrote the code that made the game function. And man, oh man, playing it, you can really tell that this fucking game is held together with string, because
it's there's an isometric sort of RPG thing, and then like grafted on top in just horrible inefficiency is 1,000 windows. Navigating your inventory sucks. That chugs. There's slowdown.
It really does feel like you're playing an RPG, and then like on top of that, like Windows 95 is about to crash.
Yeah.
Like when you hit start, a window opens, and let's say I want to look at my inventory, so I hit goods, and what that does is that opens up a second window. Now that first window is still visible beneath that first window, and it's like, who do you want to look at? Whose inventory? And so you choose, I want to look at Ness's inventory, and then that opens a window, and then you're like, I want to give the hamburger to Paula, so you go down to the hamburger, and it opens up another window. It's like, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to give it away, learn about what it does, or drop it? And that's another window that's going to just stay there, and you see, I want to give it, and it opens up like a seventh window that's like, all right, who do you want to give it to? And there's all the people, and it's not like, you know, when you open up Windows Explorer on your fucking normal computer, and there's like all the things that you can click, and then when you click on one, the same window just decides to display different things. Imagine if every time you like clicked on a different folder in Windows Explorer, it just opened up a new window, and you couldn't close the original one until you closed that new one.
It was only clones. But the way they get around this issue, that like the game is mostly Windows and then it's slow and it sucks to read sometimes, is that they let you set the color to banana or strawberry, which is like a very fun little choice. Like at the beginning of the game, it's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of windows. How do you feel about some fun colors? Will that make it a little better?
It does. Yeah.
I went classic.
I went pink. I did the pink. I did the strawberry, and I liked it the whole time.
All right, so the final thing we will discuss before moving on to Mother 3 is the final fight, really the final area of the game. It's heavy. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's definitely different from the rest of the game. Like the rest of the game, there's like a wacky statue that makes people get a little naughty, and then Ness beats up a monster and the statue goes away and they're like, oh golly, Ness, that was a little embarrassing. I won't make 3 to be Halloween Town anymore. No ghosts now. And you're like, oh, it's okay, and you go to the next area.
For the final encounter, it's like, okay, we found Gygus. He exists at a different point in time. The good news is we have a Mr. Saturn time machine. The bad news is it will destroy your body.
Yeah. You have to put your soul into a robot. There's no guarantee we'll be able to retrieve the souls, so this may just be your death, children.
Anyway, get in. And you do. It's the last area is obviously visually striking for a lot of reasons, because it's just like hell, kind of.
Yeah.
But also because you control a conga line of 4 like garbage can robot kids.
And one of them has Ness's red baseball hat on, so you know that one's Ness. Otherwise, identical children.
Yes. So you eventually fight Gygus and your neighbor kid. So Gygus is an alien who has like unlocked insane psychic powers, the same kind of psychic powers that Ness and the team have. But in the act of unleashing all that power, the only way he can like manifest and like stay I guess even remotely corporal is that he gets shoved into like an insano machine.
Yeah. So Pokey, or Porky, as the translation should be, as we'll learn in Mother 3, the awful neighbor kid, has just been like hanging around Gygus the whole time, and now he like is in like an awful combat mech, and he's like, yeah, I'm hanging out with the great destroyer archfiend of the universe. He is much more powerful than you. We're going to kick your ass and destroy all of existence. Ha fuck you, Ness. That'll teach you for being smug. And you're like, I've never been smug. Ness never spoke.
Yeah. Again, a nice little comedic touch. Anytime Pokey like says something about Ness, it's like, are you... What?
And it's really fucked because there's this weird, disgusting machine that Gygus is being held in, and so you have to fight Pokey because Gygus has a psychic shield that you can't break through. It's too good. He's too good at psychic. And when you defeat Pokey, he's like, fuck you guys. I'm going to turn off the Insano machine and let Gygus take his true form. And Gygus' true form is that he's too strong to have a body and too strong for his mind to even conceive of. So he's just a raving idiot god of infinite power who's barely even sentient. And this whole game, there's been like a sprite of the enemy on top of the sort of screensaver background. Gygus is the screensaver background, and it's scary.
Yeah, there's parts of it that kind of look like a face at times. It's a red skull goop. It's rough. It's not pleasant to look at. You will not be surprised to know that the music is also very unpleasant.
And yeah, so the way you win is famous by this point. We're not spoiling anything. This whole time, Paula has had a option in combat called Prey, which does shit that sucks. So you never use it.
I thought as a kid, I read it too fast, and I thought it was Prey with an E, and I thought like, oh, she's like a hunter. I get it.
Oh my god.
And then when you press it, it's just a bunch of Catholic shit.
She hunts Catholics. The most dangerous game. The Papists, Italians. No, but they do sort of like foreshadow it. It's like the only thing that can save us is like if we get all the power of humanity together. Somehow, if we all work together, we can overcome Gygas. And yeah, you all pray. And when you pray, it has a little cutscene where the people you saw and met in your adventure think about you. They're like, all of a sudden, I'm thinking about Ness and his friends. Mm-hmm. I hope they're okay.
It's a spirit bomb. It's a spirit bomb. But who cares? Because you get to see every freak you ever helped.
Yeah, and Gygas starts to reclaim his identity, which causes him incredible pain because it forces him to remember what he's lost. And you win. It's great. Good game. And then you don't die. Your soul does go back to your body.
Yeah, but after the fight, you're just like a bunch of scrapped robot teens, and then your little souls fly out, and I think go into the time machine. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The point is, after you beat the game, you get to just wander around afterwards, and it's fun.
Yeah. Oh man. You like Paula like asked you like can you walk me home? And like when that happens, I'm thinking about the game world and I'm like, I guess I could. Like I know how I would get there, but like we're 2 towns over. Like you want me to walk you home? And I'm like, I guess I'll do it. And you have to end up walking for like just 15 fucking minutes. And there's no enemies anymore because the world is saved. And so you're just walking Paula home for like a while. I gotta tell you, it's great.
Yeah, and when you drop her off and you're alone, you unlock the real purpose of the game, which is you can now use the bike again because you're alone.
Now I want to talk about Mother 3. I played this game. I tell you what, I played them out of order. I played Mother 3, then I played Earthbound. I don't know if I'd recommend that. I don't know. All I know is that Mother 3 fucking whips sack. Mother 3 kicks ass, dude.
I'm very excited to hear more about this because Mother 3 was a game that had like a forthcoming fan community translation for what felt like my entire first half of my life. And when I first played it on a ROM, I didn't feel like the language was hitting right. So I'm pleased to hear that whatever version you played is as well written as Earthbound.
Yeah, for sure. So this game, Mother 3, is never going to get released in America. I'll explain why later. But some dude from the starmen.net fan community, who was like a professional translator, did the whole thing. And it like came out, I think, in like 2011 or 2012 or something. And it's just a patch that you apply to a ROM of Mother 3, and it fucking makes it English text. And it's so fucking well written, so well translated. Just it does not for a second feel fan made. There's no typos. There's no parts that sound awkward. It's just killer from top to bottom. And I heard through like the grapevine on forums and such. I don't know how true this is. There's no way I would fucking be able to know how true this is. If anyone does know, have firsthand accounts, let me know. But apparently, in Japan, Mother 3 is seen as like, oh yeah, Mother 3, that was okay. Yeah, I forgot. It's an old game. Who cares? It's like not like the cult classic that like, oh, Mother 3, oh man, you got to play it like it is in America. And it's like 1,000% because to play it in English in America, you have to do Crime. Like I had to do Crime to do it. I had to download Crime software and Steal. And I got to tell you, it definitely made it hit harder because I was just like, oh man, I'm getting something I shouldn't. This is wild.
Yeah. Like, if you have to apply something to a ROM file, like that's emotional investment.
Yeah, I had to download the emulator for the Game Boy Advance. I had to download the Japanese ROM. I had to download the fan translation patching software run the patching software, apply it to the ROM, and then use the patched ROM in the emulator. And like that already, like if we're talking about a numerical score for games, like a number out of 10, doing that is just going to add 2 to whatever game it is. Just if it's an 8 out of 10 game, if I had to do that much crime, that's a 10 out of 10 game. That's how it is. I just feel closer to that game. It's like part of me. I made the game, dude. Like I developed it.
Even if Mother 3 wasn't good, and it is, the sunk cost fallacy of dragging those files on top of each other would for sure mean you would play all the way through.
And Mother 3 is great. I love it. Excellent game. And everyone, all these nerds, all these tiresome nerds are like, localize Mother 3. Localize Mother 3. Why not? And so I'm going to tell you why they haven't localized Mother 3. One, because it would sell extremely poorly in the West. It just would. Earthbound sold extremely poorly. And so would this. And people would be like, no, but Earthbound is now a critical darling. It was like a flop in the day, but people realized that they were wrong about it. I'm sure that now, knowing that, it would sell well. No, it won't. Like Metroid, everyone knows it's great. Metroid has never sold well. Metroid has always been a huge flop. And so would this be. And the other reason is because one of the main groups of characters in the game is, I'm not going to say what they are because it has a slur in the name. It is a slur for the Roma people that rhymes with Nipsies. And so these people are called the Magicos, except it's not that. When I say Jicos, put in the slur. The Magicos.
This is build a racist. You're making them do all the work.
Yeah. You have to say it in your head, not me. I'm saying Magicos. So the Magicos are a group of sort of ageless, ethereal, sort of like angelic beings that are beyond humanity and beyond gender. And the way that is portrayed is they are all Okama, which are Japanese men who wear women's clothing and have visible stubble, which is apparently the funniest thing Japanese people can imagine. They lose their shit over it.
It has to have the stubble. I actually think if there's no stubble, they don't understand what's happening.
And so the Magicos are very charming characters. I really enjoy all the scenes with them. They're very good characters. They are integral to the plot. They literally cannot be removed. But also, there's a slur in the name, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say transphobic, but it's definitely like, you're really just going to go with stubble on all of them, huh?
It's the prisoner in One Punch Man. It's like,
yeah,
we're doing it.
Yep. So that's why Mother 3 is never going to get localized. That said, that out of the way. Mother 3 is Cog Talk the game. Like I couldn't, like when I was playing this shit, I like could not believe how sicko this shit was, because the way that it's set up is Earthbound is like Dragon Quest. It's just a big fucking quest. It's structured very normal. The way Mother 3 is structured is it's much more like a movie or like a story that you happen to be playing through, which a lot of people didn't like. I fucking love it. I think it's great. And one of the ways that happens is it's broken into chapters, and each chapter initially has a different player character. And you think you're going to play as Lucas because he's from Smash Brothers, and you're like, there's one thing I know about Earthbound. It's that there's little weird boys in Smash Brothers who are the main characters.
Yeah, they all got bats or sticks.
Yeah, so turns out, no, you don't actually play as Lucas until like chapter 4 of 8. And the first 3 chapters you play as someone else as the main character, basically going through like a long prologue. And this is something that it does way better than Earthbound, because Earthbound doesn't really do a lot of storytelling. Like I mentioned how the people who join your party just sort of be like, I definitely have to join Ness's party, and like walk up to you. Mm-hmm. In this shit, there's like Duster, one of your main party members, has like a 2-hour solo dungeon where like you learn about him and how he gets involved. And it's incredible. It blows my mind. And like there is a very famous moment in chapter 1 with Flint, who is the first player character, who is Lucas's father. Lucas starts out as a little sensitive boy with a twin brother named Klaus, and his dad Flint, and his mother Hinoa. Very soon he does not have that. And Flint has a emotional breakdown at one point, which you'd be forgiven for thinking in a Mother game where everyone is a cute little fucking sprite man who looks goofy and cute, especially when it's on a Game Boy Advance screen with little Game Boy beep boop sound effects and graphics. You would think that there's definitely no way that you could depict an emotional breakdown that would be like scary and real.
Earthbound never gets there. I want to be like, the end of Earthbound is scary, but it sounds like the writing for Mother 3, they figured out how to hit the notes.
Yeah. It's the animation as well is just much better than in Earthbound. There really isn't much animation in Earthbound. Ness's walk cycle is 2 frames.
If that looks bad, I don't know if you ever looked at the NES game for the original Mother. That looks like shit. That looks awful. The main character is Ninten.
That's Nintendo.
Yes.
That's just Nintendo.
Correct. Yes. And Ninten looks like Ness, but he never had milk.
Like how you hear about like people in medieval England were like 5'2" because they didn't ever eat a bean.
Yeah. Like this person would have been 6'8" if they would have had just any amount of macronutrients.
Fuck. But the point being that by the time you actually play as Lucas has been a character just suffering in the background as other people are sort of setting up the world. For hours at this point. When you finally play as him, like you already know a lot about him, and it does that fun thing where like the character who is your sort of player character in a chapter is mute, but when they show up in other characters' chapters, they talk. So like you've heard Lucas talk, and like he actually has a authored personality, whereas Ness was just like a little boy. It fucking owns. And here, okay, here's the kicker. Here's what blew my mind. You start off in Tasmilli Village, which is your hometown, which is this beautiful little town where everyone knows each other. It's very rural and homey, and there's no money. The shop just has like a bunch of stuff on the ground, and it's like, you need anything, take it. And like your UI doesn't have like a money fucking slot. It doesn't show you how much money you have because there just isn't any. And you're going around, and you have your chapter 1, you have your chapter 2. And then in chapter 3, this asshole comes to town and gives someone a big sack of money. And he's like, this is money, this is important. And they're like, money? It's important? Really? Okay. And then like the guy loses the money. He's like, someone stole my money. What the fuck? And like they get angry, and like no one's ever gotten angry before. When fucking Flint had his emotional breakdown, it was because of something that was caused by these army of pig people who we learn are related to the asshole who gave someone money. And the pig people are all very aggressive, and they hate nature. They invent all of the enemies for the game. The enemies for the game are all 2 animals spliced together, and you find their notebook, and they're like, the animals in here are boring. We will make them more better and fight good by smushing them together. And it's like, okay, so there's this group of guys who are intent on making everything bad. And when you finally play as Lucas, it's after like a 2-year time skip. And now the city sucks. Tasmilli Village is now capitalism, and now everything costs money. And halfway through the game, where there was no money in the UI, now there's fucking money. And everything's way worse. And I'm just like, oh my god. This is Cog Talk. They put it in the game.
Just pick it up off the ground. Oh, wait. Now, you got to pay rent.
And it's so real. It's so well written because it's exactly what capitalism is, which is like nobody likes the money. Like no one's more happy now. Everyone hates it. No one's even like, well, things are different, but it's pretty much better now. It's just like, well, now I need money, so I guess I'm going to do everything that I'm asked to do from now on. Like, and eventually, as the game goes further on and on, people just start moving out of Tasmilli Village because there's New Pork City, the big city. And they're like, I got to move to New Pork City. It's where the jobs are. And you're like, do you want to go there? And they're like, nah, I just gotta. And it's like, how come? It's just like, I just gotta. And it's like, fuck. Oh my God. It's true. They did. They put Cogtalk in the game.
You get to watch the entire town get hollowed out by Mother NAFTA.
Yeah. Fucking Capital comes and is like, hey, everything good? Well, fuck that. You gotta make money now. It's just, it's wild. Oh my God. And, of course, the pig army that's doing all this evil shit, and New Pork City, why, it's all because of Porky from the original game. And without getting too much into it, like, Mother 3 is in a different dimension, like, thousands of years after Earthbound. And the reason Porky is still around is because, like, he got, like, stranded in time and space at the end of Earthbound, and he is sort of this immortal, ageless being that just lives in his combat mech only, and is like a withered husk that just lives in this machine. And he's become, like, the immortal embodiment of, like, cruelty and evil and capital and greed and hatred throughout time and space. And I just gotta say, that to me is just genius writing, because, man, that's truly the realest thing, is that, like, the evil that is killing everything, like, the real most pernicious and disgusting and harmful evil, is just, like, a shitty guy. It's not like the Dark Lord. It's a shitty guy.
Which is also what makes him hit so well in Earthbound, is that he's literally the annoying neighbor kid who's, like, a ladder climber and an opportunistic little, like, shit, and you see the outcome of that selfish ladder climbing, and he is standing next to the devil at the end. Also, one of the things that really stuck with me is Porky just being, like, a rich, annoying neighbor that, like, influences the game, which is, like, my childhood home was next to a house of a dealership dynasty of the southwest suburbs, and the character of Porky, let's just say, was very realistic. This is the family that definitely had, like, kunai. They threw knives at me once. I remember that. I remember there was actual ninja knives being thrown at me. I remember this. And why? Fuck you. Like, fuck you. That's why. Which is, like, the entire moral arc of Porky, which is just like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. Like, why is Porky like this? Because he's an asshole. You've met Porky. Like, you know why.
Well, he's also his dad, but at higher stakes, because they do a good job of showing the way Porky's dad sucks. Mm-hmm. And then how beautifully he is eclipsed by his shitty son, like the student becoming the master.
Yeah, there is a new dimension of humanity where everything is good and everyone has learned their lesson from the failure of human society, and we have made something pure and everlasting. And then Porky shows up, and he's just like, I'm an asshole. I will ruin it all. You gotta move to the big city and get a job. The city sucks.
Is that why the Smash Brothers level sucks so bad?
Dude, okay. Yes.
Is that why? Is that like an intentional theme thing?
It is intentional because, so if you're aware of the New Pork City level in Super Smash Brothers, it's way too fucking big, and it's a huge, ugly mess, and it's impossible to play on because it's just too big and is shaped basically randomly.
It's made for 8 people, but if you played with 8 people, it would be so far zoomed out that everyone would be the little circle icons because you're off the stage.
Yeah, it's unplayable. If you ever actually play on New Pork City, every single second is just uncomfortable and you wish you weren't playing there. And after playing the game, I really think that is intentional because New Pork City just fucking sucks. And it sucks that it exists. It's ugly. It's stupid. It's like it's at that part of the game where, like, you know that this is the end, and, like, you're probably at your highest level, and there's not much left to, like, wait for. Like, this is the end, so you don't mind that you have to spend all your money, but every shop is just fucking selling everything at, like, 10 times the cost.
Yeah, this is the grind it out at the end part.
It's less grinded out at the end because I don't think there's a lot of opportunities to grind in this area, but it's more just like, you have a lot of money in the bank. No, you don't. It's like, oh, you need a healing item? Oh, you want to get a better weapon? Yeah, it's kind of cost you like a third of your savings. So yeah, like the game is much more of an intentionally authored story. The characters feel a lot realer because you spend a lot more time with them in like scenarios other than like, hey, you got to defeat the next objective. You get to actually like see them go through a little arc in the game, and that's cool. And also, it's Cog Talk, and also the villain is crass, vulgar, Trump-like capitalistic greed and narcissism. So in that way, it's the most accurate game of all time. Nothing has been more true to life. But just, I gotta say, also, in addition, it's Earthbound, but they programmed it right. All those things about how the game barely ran on the SNES, that's not true anymore. The inventory works really well. And here's the wild thing, Joe. We didn't mention this in Earthbound because it barely came up, but like your health is technically like a rolling odometer where like if you take 100 damage, like the little wheels have to like spin the numbers down.
So Earthbound made a big point about like it's a funky game where your health is this odometer, but the numbers go so fast that it like doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like if you take damage, yes, the numbers go down, but the design was that you could react in such a way to stop the falling damage, but it goes so fast it doesn't matter.
Yeah. In Mother 3, they slow those fucking odometer wheels down so that like the intent actually happens. And there's like a defend option in these games that you never use because why would you do that? That you should be attacking.
You should only use defend when the game's like the boss is looking really strong and charging up a big punch. Like that's when you're like, oh, I think I know what you're putting down.
But in Mother 3, what defend does is it makes the odometer wheel go even slower.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah, it just makes it go on a crawl, and it's wild because it actually does give you scenarios where like my party member is like dying. He took mortal damage, but I do have like 7 seconds before they actually die, and so I can go really fast and select a healing item and heal them before the dials hit 0. It's wild as hell. Another great thing, and this is something that I couldn't really do because it was on an emulator. You can only do it sort of halfway, and then the sound gets out of sync just imperceptibly. Is they have multiple battle themes just like Earthbound. They're funky and fun and varied and exciting to hear a new one and keep them fresh. But also, after you hit with your attack, you can do that sort of like Paper Mario rhythm thing where if you keep tapping the button along to the rhythm of the song, you hit again and 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 can just pile on the damage. And it's fun.
It's really disgusting how much of a difference that makes in terms of engagement. It like really solidifies that you're just like a monkey that needs to push the button. Yeah. Just like the introduction of that over the regular JRPG thing, and it's like, oh, this is a new thing, completely different. This is a new experience I've never had before.
God, games are fucking good. I love this shit. So yeah, I'm not, to go more into it would involve having to like sit you down and summarize the plot and give you reasons why this set piece really hits hard. But Mother 3, the short version, this game kicks ass. It's like if Earthbound ran correctly and also was a really sweet and sad story that was like an actual like story first. Earthbound was a game first with a funky story. Mother 3 is a sad, sensitive, touching story that is in video game form.
All of this is to say, when they revealed that they put Ness in the original Smash Brothers,
that's the funniest shit.
It was the strangest experience as a kid because I was like, no one gives a shit about this but me. Like I remember because everyone loves Smash Brothers, and then they were like, what is this kid from? And I'm like, actually, it's this fun game that has a strategy guide that smells weird. And they're like, I don't care. I don't like how his up B can fuck up and you die. I was like, all right, never mind.
As a kid who didn't know shit about Earthbound and also loves Smash Brothers, I was like, damn, a fun platform fighting game with all of my favorite Nintendo friends? Incredible. Donkey Kong, Mario, Kirby, Pikachu, Fox? Well, the gang's all here. What's this? Samus? Well, I've never played Metroid before. Incredible. My horizons have been broadened. I love it. It's like I'm being introduced to new games. Exciting. And then, a new secret character. It's a normal boy. It's a little boy.
From Cabbage Patch. I know him.
And the even funnier thing is that Ness's moveset in Smash Brothers is fucking made up. Because in the game, Ness has one attack skill with his fucking psychic powers, and it's PK Rockin'.
Yeah, it's whatever you name it, so it could be PK Dicks.
I had it be PK Cats. What's
Nice.
your favorite thing up with cats? But yeah, he just PK Cats, which is a huge, super powerful area of effect spell, but it takes a shit ton of magic power, so you use it very sparingly. What Ness really does is Ness is the healer. Ness heals and then also hits with his bat. And so all of Ness's special moves, like PK Fire and PK Thunder, that's just fake. They made that. Someone else has those moves. He never learns them.
In the trophies, like the little lore in the Smash Brothers games, I think they even say, yeah, Paula taught Ness how to do PK Fire. Shut up.
It's so good.
It also sucks that they wanted to make another Earthbound character and put them in Smash Brothers, and they picked Lucas, which is, again, like the same thing as Ness in many ways, when they could have just been like, all right, Jeff is a guy with gadgets. All the gadget characters seem so easy to make because it's not like you have to like think about logic. He presses up B and the tuba comes out.
Yeah. He reaches behind him and pulls out a thing and then does that and then puts it back. Easy. Done. Put it into game. That's the move. And also, I gotta say, being in like college when Brawl came out and there's a new Earthbound guy and it's Lucas, I gotta say that hit me as 0 because I'm like, well, it looks exactly like fucking Ness, but he's blonde. Yeah. This is a 0 to me. This is not a new character. I don't give a shit. All of his moves are the same, but a little different.
The total cowardice of just picking another Cabbage Patch boy.
Yeah.
Like the games are rich with potential whatever.
Yeah. And the funny thing, after playing Mother 3 that was wild about Lucas just becoming a Smash Brothers character is like, one, he'd never coming out in the West. So like, as far as most Americans know, Lucas is, if Ness had slightly different attacks, he had stronger smash attacks. He had a PK Fire that hit once instead of multiple times, and he had PK Freeze instead of PK Flash, which is less strong, but it does move faster. And he also has a back air as a spike because it's a soccer kick, and like that's what Lucas is. When you actually play the game, Ness is like a little boy who is sort of happy, and he goes on an adventure where he grows as a person and saves the day. And Lucas is the saddest boy in the world whose family is torn apart by capitalism and death, and he never gets over the pain, and we don't know if the world was saved at the end. It's ambiguous, and maybe everything's ruined.
So they're the same.
And he never... Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is they're very same. So who's the Paula in Mother 3?
Yes, the end of all this, the conclusion is that these games kick ass. You should play them.
You should play them. You, I think, addressed correctly why a Mother 3 won't come over. The other reason it won't come over is all the people who want to play it have already done the crime.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like the patch has like a fucking screen at the beginning that's like, this is the fan translation patch. This was a fan work. We do not own anything. And please, if you're playing this when this game eventually does come out, please uninstall the fan patch and buy the official version. And it's like, yeah, right. No, I won't be doing that.
No, and we know they're not going to release it because Nintendo would have already sent like SEAL Team 6 to take care of it.
Anyway, that's all the time we have for Anime Sickos this week. Bye. Thank you everybody for listening. This has been the Sickos. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
I'm Joe, an Anime Sicko.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.